Coronavirus kills indigenous elders, accelerating loss of languages. NewsELA by Washington Post. The disease the old man had been warning about had taken hold, and he knew he was dying. He looked to his son Tapi, who would soon be the leader of what remained of their people. The old man was fluent in 5 languages, but the one he chose to speak now was one that few people in the world understood. Awirihi Nuha, Aritana Yawalipiti 71 said in the language of Yawalipiti, an indigenous tribe in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. Take care of the people, take care of the land, take care of the forest. With Aritana's death, the number of people who speak the language fluently dropped from 3 to 2, both of whom are in their 70s. Pandemic kills last speakers of ancient languages. As the coronavirus spreads through the world, it has pushed into territories that use some of the world's most endangered languages. By targeting the elderly, the virus is striking down the last remaining speakers of ancient languages that were already at risk. The coronavirus has battered the region of Loreto in Peru, threatening dozens of rare languages. In Australia, linguists suspended an expedition to record words of the last fluent speaker of Rariyagna and Thinma to protect the 86-year-old man from the risk of infection. In India, the only country with more endangered languages than Brazil, researchers are worried. Somehow people have not yet woken up to the death of these languages, said Anvita Abi. She's an Indian scholar who spent years studying the Ser language only to see its final speaker die in 2020. Languages die slowly and then suddenly, she said. Tapi determined to save his people's language. It's a process that Tapi, 42, has been trying to prevent for years. As the number of fluent speakers dropped, he raced to document and save a language he understood but spoke little. He began interviewing his father, writing down everything and traveling to study with linguists. Now his primary source is gone, but not his language, he hopes. Even before the coronavirus pandemic, the world was at risk of losing more than a third of its remaining 6,800 languages. Hundreds have been lost in the past century. Development reached isolated villages, people moved to cities, and new technologies and globalization caused the world to focus on a few main languages. Hundreds of languages in danger of dying. About 600 languages are critically endangered, a United Nations group said. Nearly 150 languages are spoken by 10 or fewer. When a language dies, linguists say the world loses words and also concepts, thought, patterns, history, and more. Few places better reflect the variety of language than the forests of Brazil. Around the year 1500, the linguist Ariane Rodriguez wrote an estimated 1,175 languages were spoken in Brazil. Indigenous ancients die before sharing knowledge. Today, fewer than 230 remain, and most of them are at risk. It's a loss of language and culture that has advanced during the coronavirus pandemic. The disease it causes, COVID-19, has killed at least 205 indigenous ancients, leaders who served as living records for people without written ones. Most try to transfer their knowledge to the next generation before their death. However, if their end comes unexpectedly early, their knowledge and history disappear with them. Sawiraya Asurini, a member of the Asurini Tribe in the Amazon state of Tocantins, have difficulty describing the death of the lost. When the coronavirus struck his tribe, had 24 ancients. Now, 6 are dead. It's a loss that are no words, he said. The ancients were living a history for us. Now the number of people who speak the language is very small. For the Yawalipiti people, the number is smaller still. You can never let it end. Tapi grew up hearing stories from the ancients in the Yawalipiti language. Attacks by another tribe in the 1930s killed many, including their leader. They fled their village and split apart, being absorbed into several other indigenous tribes. The Yawalipiti survived, but their language grew weaker. When they married people in other groups, their children rarely spoke Yawalipiti. When Tapi was a child, fewer than 20 speakers remained, and he was told what he had to do. My father said, "You can never let it end. The language is part of our culture." As the last few speakers died, Tapi shared a bold plan with his father. He would travel hundreds of miles to the University of Brasilia to learn how to research their language. It would mean months away from his family, living in a city far from the forest. Few Yawo Tipi had tried anything like it, but he wanted to record their language and teach others. Aritana recognized the importance of the mission. "You must go to the university, make this course, but then return to the people," Aritana said. "I would not let it disappear." Tapi has spent years recording the language of his father and other ancients. Some in the tribe have learned more of their language, but it has been difficult getting others to use it. Still, he plans to continue registering words, visiting with the last two fluent speakers. He said the language will not be forgotten. "I will not let it disappear," he said.